Okay, so I'm going to call this video Perfect is the Enemy of Good. And what I found getting into native species and native plants is that there's kind of 3 tiers to how you can, or like what kind of plants you can get, right? So you can get a cultivar of a native plant. So this is Phlox, divaricata, blue moon. You can get a straight species. This is Eastern Columbine. I took the tag out just a second ago because I was about to plant it. Something, I don't know the name off the top of my head. And then there are local Ecotype natives, straight species, right? So this is coastal Joe Pye that I got from a native plant seller who collects wild seed and grows it from seed, right? And then these 2 I both got at plant stores, nurseries. Okay. And so when you start out, you might think that you have to convert your whole lawn to everything native, and it becomes very overwhelming. Or, you're getting even more rigid in the thought process, and you're saying you have to get all local Ecotype natives, or else what's the point? And I will argue that even a little bit of native plant in your yard is benefiting more than 0 native plants in your yard, right? Even if it's a cultivar, it's still going to have a better impact than something from, Europe or Asia, or God forbid, something invasive, right? And there is stuff to talk about when you were talking about cultivars and like what can negatively impact the plants when you buy them. So there are certain types of cultivars that are less helpful, I will say, than others. I'm not going to say that they're necessarily harmful, but they're less helpful. And Doug Tallamy, who's kind of a big part of the native plant movement, did some research, I believe, to kind of talk about what those differences are. The main idea is if they change the shape of the flower, that messes up the pollinators. Changing the color doesn't super do it. Giving it greater fall color. This is Virginia, Itea Virginica, a Sweetspire, and this is a cultivar Little Henry. It has good fall color and it's a dwarf. That does not mess things up, right? So making it shorter, making it have better or longer fall color doesn't really mess things up. But again, like changing the shape of the flower, turning the leaves, I think red in like all the time, makes it less palatable. Variegated stuff is slightly less chlorophyll, so it's less palatable to native species, but less palatable, not destroying them and their habitat kind of thing. So and you can look that up, and maybe I can make a better video about it. But again, my idea is like a little bit of impact is better than no impact at all, right? So if you are finding yourself stuck, feeling like you can't keep up with the rules, then just loosen them a little bit and it's fine, as long as you aren't actively doing harm. You can have really pretty darker purple blue flowers than you might find in nature, or more blooms than you might find in nature, and you're still helping, you're still providing habitat. And then if you can get a local Ecotype, like find it. That's great too. That's my opinion. I mean, other people are going to have different opinions, right? Other people are going to be more militant about it, but that's my concept, right? Perfection is the enemy of good. One thing I wanted to add about cultivars is one of the detractors, which is the fact that the way most of these are made are clonally. So there was a plant that had this genetic diversity, and then it was divided and divided and divided and divided again. And the reason this is important is because that reduces the genetic diversity that exists in your yard. So if there's a disease or a bug or something that this is affected by, then all of them will be affected by it. It makes your garden and your yard and the habitats you're creating ultimately less hardy. So that is one thing to keep in mind when you're talking cultivars as well.